Hi guys, and welcome back to Chef Brick Racing, and today we're talking about movies. This week I got to watch the F1 movie, one of my most anticipated films of the year. As an avid sim racer who loves everything to do with sim racing, once this movie was announced, particularly with the team behind Top Gun Maverick, I couldn't be more excited. So this is going to be my spoiler-free review from a sim racer's perspective, and I will then do spoilers at the end, but I'll give you fair warning when we get there. So without further ado, let's go over to the review. Okay, so this movie was directed by the team behind Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski. I love Top Gun Maverick. It was one of my favourite movies of that year. It was shot beautifully, it was a great story, and it really took me back to my youth watching movies in the 80s and early 90s of that feel-good movies that just make you feel something, and then you get behind the hero of a story that you can fully invest in. So when this movie was announced with Brad Pitt and the team, I couldn't be more excited. So what is the premise of the movie? The movie starts out with Sonny Hayes, a driver at the end of his career, who's really only driving in races that really excite him and cars he wants to be involved in. He's not bothered about the money, he's not bothered about the championship, he just wants to race. And we get straight into the driving at Daytona, and wow, this start is phenomenal. The music beats are completely on point. We go straight into the action at Daytona. It's shot absolutely beautifully. The racing is stunning. I could picture myself, I've driven this track many, many times in iRacing, and following the cars round was just such a delight. The racing was phenomenal. The camera movements were great. And you really felt in the heart of the action. And this was just straight in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It was such a phenomenal start. From there, we get a wider view of Sonny sort of driving around America looking for opportunities to race, where he's sort of down on his luck and he's approached by an old friend, Javier Bardem, who is a F1 driving team who's equally having struggles. He's created this brand new racing team. They've yet to assimilate any points in the championship, and he really needs Sonny to come back and galvanise the team, join him for the last 9 races of the season to see if they can gain any points or even win a championship race. From there, we're taken straight to Silverstone to the current rookie driver, Damson Idris, who is phenomenal in this movie. He does such a great job as he's trying to pick up his pace around the track. And the movie does a phenomenal job of explaining setups, timings, pit crew strategies. Just, as a sim racer who uses these week in, week out, it was great to see. But as somebody who hasn't, maybe not as experienced in sim racing, the movie still does a phenomenal job of bringing you on that journey of how this process works. So from here, we see Damson set a time that he's not entirely happy with, but it's good enough at this stage of practice at Silverstone. And then Brad Pitt is brought into the equation, where he basically says, if I can't set a lap time within 1 second, I'll quit the team. I won't be enjoyed. We're then put out on track with Brad Pitt pushing the car to its limits, causing more carnage, but actually is able to set a time. And from there, we're catapulted straight into the last 9 races of the season. From there, we're taken straight to Brad Pitt, introducing to the team and being put out on track. And it was phenomenal to see all of these circuits brought into the movie. I've driven all of these circuits many, many times, both in Assetto Corsa and in iRacing. And to see these on the big screen in F1 was just stunning. The whole team have done a great job of blending in. Obviously, scenes with Damson and Brad driving the F1 cars, looking believable of how they've cut those into the other drivers of the F1 series. How they've done it, I don't know. It looks phenomenally real. There is obviously green screen in there, but it's not clear at all for me. And some movies like the Marvel movies, where it absolutely sticks out like a sore thumb, in this movie, it absolutely doesn't. From there, the movie takes you on a journey of how Damson and Brad Pitt are trying to work out a strategy with a car that isn't great on the straights, but maybe they can get the car to a place where it's good into the corners. They may be able to find opportunities. And Brad Pitt then sort of looks at ways of potentially using the F1 rules to see how he can then help his teammate to try and get their first points. And these sections in between the races are just shot beautifully. The driving feels visceral, it feels real, it feels enjoyable, and it moves at such a great pace. And it isn't following all of your typical sports movie tropes in that, it doesn't quite go to plan. They're trying to find ways in which they're going to catapult their team back into the equation. And again, I was just sat there with a huge smile on my face, and each race they complete, the stakes increase. And they're all shot stunningly. Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, and Javier Bardem and the team are phenomenal. They do such a great job of explaining what's happening, the importance of the race, the importance of the setup. And the pit team then do a great job, and there's some great banter between Brad Pitt and the pit team as they look to try and work out how they're going to get this car to work, how they're going to get any points across this season. The team have a new technical director played by Kerry Condon, and she is phenomenal in this movie. The relationship between her and Brad is great, it's believable, there was great chemistry, great banter, and how she's trying to look at how she can get the best out of the car, and how Brad Pitt is trying to work out ways they can extract pace that potentially will give them an opportunity to gain points. And the movie just does such a great job. The music and the score by Hans Zimmer is absolutely stunning. It really takes you on a journey, and it just doesn't let up. From each race, the stakes are building as the pressure, as the end of the season starts to come into play. And can the team actually get a point? And can the team actually win a race? And if they don't, the consequences being that Javier will lose his team to a hostile takeover, and effectively Damson and Brad Pitt will be back to driving go-karts or whatever opportunities they can across the race. And really, this journey is just phenomenal. The soundtrack is great. The Hans Zimmer soundtrack is stunning. The music choices that the team have picked are amazing. And it's just such a great time. I do encourage you to watch this movie on the biggest screen possible. If you are a sim racer like me that's driven many of these tracks for hundreds of hours of tracks time in these, you will thoroughly enjoy and will look at all the corners and you will recognize those and probably start braking as I was at different key points where I was following the car around, how you would personally take those corners. And I can't rate this movie high enough. I had such a great time at the cinema. And movies are about experiences, and some movies will leave you feeling like you've experienced something. And certainly for F1, that's how I felt. I left the cinema thinking I could be a faster driver. I left the cinema that I think, okay, I'm going to go to my next race straight after this, and I'm actually going to apply some of the thought process that I learned from this movie. And it is such a great time. As a sim racer, how would I rate this movie? So as a sim racer, this is as good as it can get. The cars are stunning, the races are stunning, the cinematography feels real and visceral. You feel fully bought in that these guys are racing F1 cars on the tracks that we know and love, and it has to be a 9.5 out for me. I don't think much more could have been done to this to give it, a perfect 10, but I thoroughly enjoyed it all the way. I guess as a cinephile who isn't into sim racing, who isn't invested in F1, it may not quite buy in the same, so I can see that review being slightly a lower score, maybe sort of an 8.5, but I do encourage this movie to be seen on the big screen. If you can watch it in IMAX, I absolutely would. The shots are beautiful. Joseph Kosinski and his cinematographer have done such a phenomenal job. It looks absolutely stunning. The soundtrack is amazing. And it's such a great time, and it's an experience. I think when you experience a movie and you can feel the energy in the room, you're in for a good time. So that's my non-spoiler review of F1. I thoroughly recommend you checking it out. It's a great time in the cinema. Now we're going to full spoilers, so spoiler warning now, and then we'll move on to my bits of the movie that I'm not as keen on, but we'll move on to those next. Okay, so now we're on to spoilers. So the movie is great, as I mentioned. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. The journey that Brad Pitt and Damson go on across the last 9 races, it's absolutely perfect. The only part of the movie for me that kind of pulled me out was the last race of the season. So it culminates that effectively the team have to at least get one win of the championship for Javier to get another 3 years, an opportunity to develop the car and have a fighting chance of keeping his team together in the F1 season. And in the last race of the season, effectively, it comes down to Brad Pitt and Damson, who have improved across the last 9 races, but they effectively play the safety system of the F1 series to their advantage. And effectively, we're racing. The guys they're pulling themselves into like the top 4 or 5 position, but then effectively a red flag comes out and it brings the entire race to a halt. And effectively, then we're put into then a last 20 minutes of a mini race of 3 laps. And for me, this slightly took me out of the movie because the movie was moving at such a great pace. The race driving was absolutely phenomenal. And all of a sudden, the anchors are on. We're in a pitch strategy. Brad Pitt's car is heavily damaged and the team have got to try and rebuild it in 10 minutes. And we now have this mini race for 3 laps. And it just ever so slightly took the edge off for me around experience of the movie, having been moving at such a great pace, to suddenly anchor, have 10 minutes of kind of like commentary from the commentators about what the red flags mean, to try and explain it to the audience, explain effectively we're now starting again, basically everyone's back in their race positions, and how the guys, because they had effectively missed qualifying, were starting on fresh tyres where everybody else had used tyres from qualifying. It just felt a little bit disjointed. That's the only negative I would say. But apart from that, everything else in the movie just flowed really, really well. And, for Brad Pitt to get that final win of the season right at the end there was great to see. And it wasn't how I thought it was going to go. I thought Damson was going to get the final win. That's the way the movie was positioning, that Brad Pitt would effectively position Damson to win the first championship race for Team Apex. But that's not how it played out. Brad Pitt was able to get that win and secure it for the Apex team, and then effectively allowing them to start a new season with Damson as Idris as the main driver, with a new set of funding and hopefully a new strategy, allowing them to build credibility in the F1 season. So that was the only negative for me across the movie. Other than that, it's a fantastic time. I can't rate this movie highly enough. I do encourage you to see it. If you're in any form into F1 or sim racing or Forza Horizon or into the Forza series, you will love this movie. It is just stunning. It's a great, great time. And these movies for drivers like us don't come along very often. If you enjoyed my review of the F1 movie, a thumbs up is always appreciated. If you're new to Chef Brick Racing and you've not seen any of my races in the past, you're very welcome to subscribe. It's completely free. I race frequently on GT3 and GT4 cars across iRacing and LMU and ACC. If you're new to the channel, that'd be amazing. I stream every Thursday as well with Bongo Warrior, so thank you for checking out the review. I do encourage you to watch this movie, and if you have stayed till the end, thank you so much. I'll be back again soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.